Hola. Hola. All right. Good morning. I am excited today as we create another seat at Savannah's table.
Buenos días. Estoy entusiasmado hoy mientras creamos otro asiento en la mesa de Savannah.
Roughly 7,000 City of Savannah residents identify as Hispanic or Latino. And as we work towards our beloved community, we want to ensure that we are engaging, involving, and communicating better with our citizens of Hispanic and Latino heritage.
Aproximadamente 7,000 residentes de la ciudad de Savannah se identifican como hispanos o latinos, y a medida que trabajamos hacia nuestra comunidad querida, queremos asegurarnos de que nos comprometamos, involucremos y comuniquemos mejor con nuestros ciudadanos de herencia hispana y latina.
So today, during Hispanic Heritage Month, I am excited to introduce HOLA Savannah, our newest task force focusing on HOLA, Hispanic Outreach, Leadership, and Advocacy.
Así que hoy, durante el mes de herencia hispana, me complace presentar HOLA Savannah, nuestro grupo de trabajo más reciente.
HOLA Savannah will educate Savannah's Hispanic and Latino community about the city's government operations and services to build trust and involvement with Savannah's Hispanic residents.
HOLA Savannah educará a la comunidad hispana latina de Savannah sobre las operaciones y servicios del gobierno de la ciudad para crear confianza con y participación de los residentes de Savannah.
Likewise, HOLA will help the city of Savannah to make sure that our services are accessible to and practical for the Hispanic Latino community.
Asimismo, HOLA Savannah ayudará a la ciudad de Savannah a asegurarse de que nuestros servicios sean accesibles y prácticos para la comunidad hispana.
I am pleased to introduce our inaugural task force members, and if they're here, we want them to stand to be recognized. Some could not make it today. Miriam Baker, Chair. Pastor Samuel Rodriguez. Lisette Riselli. Hola. Gustavo Gonzalez. Alfonso Ribot. Mariela Oriana. Iris Soria. Beatriz Sanchez de Velasquez. Daniela Rodriguez. Marilyn Labrador. Adriana Boatwright. Elizabeth Galarza. Eva Alas. And Beatrice Severson. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on, do better than that. Come on, there we go. Now I would like to introduce someone who's very special to us, Miriam Baker, who has been essential in sharing COVID-19 information since the beginning of the year with our Spanish-speaking community to share more about the plans and the goals for this group. And consistent again with our initiatives, wear a mask, wash your hands and surfaces, and watch your distance.
Ahora me gustaría invitar a Miriam Baker, que ha sido esencial para compartir la información de COVID-19 con nuestra comunidad, que habla español y que comparta más de los planes y objetivos de este grupo. Miriam.
Good morning. I will say what I'm going to say in English first, and then I will translate in Spanish. So first of all, I would like to say it is an honor and it is a privilege to have been asked by the mayor to participate in this great opportunity. Second, this has been a long time coming. I have been a resident of the city of Savannah for 15 years and an employee of it for 9.5 of those. I have interpreted for Spanish-speaking residents both while I worked at Memorial Health and currently working for the city. Throughout this time, I have seen an increase in the Hispanic population within our community. I have observed and heard concerns of how the Hispanic community in Savannah has not been acknowledged in the past. I applaud Mayor Johnson for wanting to make that change and make an effort to bring all community groups to the City of Savannah table. It is my hope for this group to be able to make the voice of the Hispanic community heard through discussions of the issues facing them, making recommendations for how to improve the relationship, providing education as to how the government functions and the services provided, and encouraging involvement so that the Hispanic residents feel that Savannah is a great place to live, work, and play. That Savannah is their home. So as it is said, let's move forward. Thank you. Primero, me gustaría decir que es un honor y un privilegio que me haya el alcalde pedido a que participe en esta gran oportunidad. Segundo, esto ha tardado mucho en llegar. He sido residente de la ciudad de Savannah durante 15 años y empleada de la misma por 9 años y medio. He sido intérprete para residentes de habla hispana, tanto mientras trabajaba en el Hospital Memorial y mientras he sido empleada de la ciudad también. A lo largo de este tiempo, he visto un aumento de la población de la comunidad hispana dentro de nuestra comunidad. He observado y escuchado preocupaciones de cómo la comunidad hispana de Savannah no ha sido reconocida en el pasado. Aplaudo al alcalde Johnson por querer cambiar eso y hacer un esfuerzo para atraer a todos los grupos de la comunidad a la mesa de la ciudad de Savannah. Espero que este grupo pueda hacer oír la voz de la comunidad hispana a través de discusiones de los problemas que se enfrentan, haciendo recomendaciones sobre cómo mejorar la relación, proporcionando educación sobre cómo funciona el gobierno y los servicios presentados, y fomentando la participación para que los residentes hispanos de Savannah se sientan que Savannah es un lugar para vivir, trabajar y jugar. Que Savannah es su hogar. Así como se dice, pa' adelante. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Ms. Baker, and we are so excited about what that means. Thank you for your willingness to serve. And on a personal note, we learned that the Hispanic diaspora is large. It represents people from all over the world that call Savannah home. So I want to take a moment, a little off script, just to recognize some of the countries that are represented here. So we know we have Puerto Rico, which is in the United States. So Puerto Rico. So all the Puerto Ricans, everybody stand up for Puerto Rican? All right, so round of applause. Boricua forever. Who else do we have? Colombian? Colombia. All right, Colombia. Okay, who else? Am I missing? Mexico. Mexico. All right. Anyone else we're missing? And I know on our task force we have a variety. Honduras. I'm sorry.
You're forgetting about me.
No, Honduras. And again, we just recognize that what makes Savannah is that people come from all over the place. And the goal at the end of the day is that Savannah is and should be home to everyone who lives here. If they call Savannah home, then Savannah should be their home. So two of my favorite terms is one is conectados somos más, and the other one is Savannah es su casa. So I accept any questions you have at this time. And also, if you look, this is our logo. As you see, HOLA, Hispanic Outreach, Leadership and Advocacy. And our tagline is Mi casa es su casa. My home is your home.
Como ven el logo de HOLA, y como dice él, que todos somos bienvenidos en Savannah, y dice HOLA, y todos, esta es tu casa, ¿verdad? Mi casa es tu casa.
That's right. Yes?
Eric Escobar, publisher of Bautista Media Company. What was the final catalyst for the initiative for HOLA? What took you all that final step to get there?
Oh, I promised to do that during my campaign. I think that we have to be very clear that in Savannah, there have been people sitting at the table for a long time. But there were people, or groups of people, that have been, I won't say they've been not invited, they just never were invited. And so I promised to create a city where people's voices can be heard, a city where people were at the table, and where the city was being more intentional in engaging people. And so this was a natural part of this. This group has actually been meeting now for a couple of months. And now we're just to the point where we are debuting to the world, so to speak. But the fact is that 7,000 people is a significant part of our organization. We believe that it's actually more than that. That's why the census is so important, and we've been working with this group to really make sure we're counted in the census. We believe that we're well over 7,000, but we need to make sure that as it relates to everyday city services, as it relates to emergency services such as a pandemic or a hurricane, that our city is appropriately communicating with and establishing that rapport. And so we've gotten leaders from the Hispanic community. All of these individuals are well respected in their areas, and so we're using them as our ambassadors to help communicate with us and help us to do better. Savannah can always do better, and so this is our opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I was wondering, nothing against you, but could I ask Ms. Baker some questions?
Yes.
If you don't mind coming up to the podium?
Well, let me do this. Are there any other questions for me? And then that way we don't have to keep cleaning it off. And I just messed up somebody's microphone. Well, I'm going to put this. Go ahead.
So I know part of this task force is to encourage Hispanic citizens to get involved. So can you give us some examples of what you mean by that?
Well, I think one of the things we found out was, of course, is that routinely across the country, people of Hispanic Latin descent are undercounted in the census. And so Alfonso had been working really hard with the Census Bureau and working with us because we want to make sure that everyone is counted. We know that when you have hurricanes and when you have emergency information, everyone in Savannah is not primarily English speaking. And so we want to make sure that we're able to communicate in a way that most people are able to get the information they need. And then the last thing is certainly cultural. We want to make sure that we are culturally appropriate in the things that we do. And so what better way to do that than to have subject matter experts to help advise us as we go with that. We say Savannah is an open table for everyone. And so, we're just glad to have these wonderful people at our table.
I have a question as well.
Take
Based
it.
on the program, based on the program, has there been any consideration into providing like English-speaking classes for the Hispanic community for those who would like to learn or may not have the access to it?
Well, I think actually there's already been discussion about it. The issue really for us is that we recognize that the underrepresentation is not only in the city government, it's maybe in services around that are not necessarily provided by the city. So this creates an opportunity for us to say, if there is something that is needed, let's create a way or find a partner to help with that. So the city government itself may not do that, but we will partner with someone. And I think they have said on numerous occasions that there are people who want to learn English. And so let's find a way of finding partners or teachers that would help to do that. I mean, I realize now I should have did better in my high school Spanish classes. So they have committed to helping me speak Spanish. And so, again, if communication is the language becomes a barrier by which people can't communicate, we have to find ways to get closer together. So, you know, they've already have some wonderful ideas, and we're certainly looking forward to helping.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Looking at those partnerships that you're talking about, would that, for example, look like opening up a community center that the city owns to host classes or gatherings?
Yeah, I mean, I think that once we establish what the needs are, once we establish where the people are, I think, you know, we have to be able to be conveners to help some of that stuff happen. I think the fact that the city is leading in this regard, I'm talking about it from my bully pulpit, so to speak. We've already had people interested in how they could be a part, how they can, services that might be needed. And so working with our team and our task force here, they'll help us to be able to determine those things, and we'll figure out ways to get it done. People in Savannah are very smart, and they can make things happen.
This is now, by my count, I believe the 7th task force that's been created.
And more to come.
And more to come, exactly. How are you keeping everything organized as far as expectations, timelines, things like that, goals and objectives, and when you achieve?
Right now, it's a lot of Zoom meetings. I'm meeting with these task force. I'm also, in the cases of this, they have their own chairs. They come up with a work plan, and then we interface regularly to kind of determine where we are. What we're finding is that a lot of the needs intersect, and they intersect at areas of where we have other task forces. I know there's been some criticism about it, but I committed to bringing people to the table. And we recognize if you are a returning citizen, and you might be a Hispanic descent, you might need housing. So we have a housing task force that intersects with that. We soon will be introducing our task force for differently abled people. And again, issues of housing, issues of equity, issues of food security, our issues of information are ways that we're able to kind of intersect these different task forces. And what we find is that there are common threads. So if we fix one issue, and I use housing again, if we really do something significant with housing, it helps everybody. And so, you know, it's been an interesting journey. But what I've been excited about is that we have at this point now over 200 Savannahans working on issues that are important to them. And so in this opportunity, these folks, some knew each other, some didn't. Some have different views at some points. We don't expect that they will always get along, but at the end of the day, we come up with a work plan, and at the minimum, Savannah is doing better than we did before. At the maximum, we've locked and loaded, everybody is all in, and our city becomes that beloved community that I believe that Savannah could be. Yes, sir.
One more follow-up question. Hispanics in the South are so the fastest growing demographic now. What is your response, or more so education, to the naysayers saying that you're doing something special for a specific demographic?
I just look at them. I mean, I don't know. I'll say, okay. I mean, Savannah has to be a place where everyone's dreams can happen. If people choose us, we have to choose them. And so I have received some criticism about that. But I mean, again, I telegraphed very clear last year, even in my campaign, what I was going to do. And that was Savannah was going to be a safe, environmentally healthy, economically thriving community for all of its citizens. All. If you are Hispanic, if you're justice involved or justice impacted, if you are have a disability, if you are LGBTQ, I mean that Savannah was going to be the place that you were going to be proud to call home. And so in this specific case, I'm asking the Latino, Hispanic community, what do we do to help make Savannah a place you feel comfortable in calling home? Now, what I have noticed is this, is that we have about 7,000 in the city. There are a whole lot more that live in the outskirts, Richmond Hill and other cities, low country of South Carolina. We want to make Savannah so good they want to move here. I'm not calling any names. But, it's the issue about quality of life. How do we make Savannah into a place where we appreciate culture, where we appreciate people being different? And it's okay to be different. But that we can appreciate people for what they bring to our mosaic, to our fabric. Anything else for me? Okay. And I'll hold the sign.
So first I want to say, soy dominicana, so I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited. I know. So you talked about being here for 10 years. You talked about working in the Hispanic community. So what would you identify as the primary needs of the Hispanic community? Because you said you feel like you've been forgotten. So kind of talk to me about that.
I believe the primary need is education, because from what I've observed through being involved or looking through some of the Facebook pages like HOLA Savannah and Agenda Latina and Suya, it seems that a lot of the residents of the community don't know where to go for anything, for food stamps, for assistance with housing, for education. So I think the biggest concern and the biggest need is education, telling the Hispanic community, okay, for COVID testing, you can go to the Civic Center or you can go to the Department of Health for the county. If you have any type of housing need, that your bills need to be paid. Right now, the United Way is helping with those needs. So basically, education. That's what my first and foremost thing is, to put out there information in Spanish, educating them, telling them where to go, what the services are that the city can provide, what the county can provide, the state, and so on.
And going forward, what do you see might be your biggest challenges with this?
Probably the distribution of the information, and also, how, because with any language, even in the English language, you have different lingos. So how do you remain neutral to where the message is dispersed, where it's understood properly, and how to get those resources out to them as well.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My question for you is, moving forward, getting involved with these citizens, what's your message to them on how to utilize these resources that the task force is going to be able to offer them?
I would say stay vigilant on the Facebook pages that they're involved in, to watch the City of Savannah website and YouTube channel. We're trying to make an effort to put the information out there, not only in English, but also in Spanish. And so, again, be vigilant as to the modes of communication that the information will be out there. And if you're not sure where to go to on the social media or on the TV, which would be the case, but in case you can't for whatever reason, reach out to someone else who speaks Spanish that you know. They might know something. They might have other resources that you weren't aware of. I've noticed even with English-speaking people that I know, you know, they don't know about X, Y, and Z. For instance, I just had a conversation that the person wasn't aware that the census was extended until October 31st. So just reach out to some other person who, you know, may know something that speaks the same language as you, to find out if they know more about any resources, how do you access them, and, you know, things of that nature.
What's the first step with the task force?
My first step with the task force is going to be, first of all, decide what are the issues out there and how do we want to approach them. Again, I was going to suggest education. I think education is the biggest issue. But I was going to sit there and basically brainstorm and see if we've missed something that I haven't seen previously that we can tackle and address.
Miriam, for somebody who's been in the city for so long now and is a city employee, what does this mean to you personally and you think how do Latinos and Latinos?
To me, it means that the Savannah government has taken a step forward to, as the mayor said, to include everyone in the community. And to me, it's you know, it kind of has weighed on my heart for a number of years because I grew up in Miami. I come from an international culture environment, and there, yes, we are not perfect, and we don't have cohesiveness, for lack of a better word, in everything. But people in the community know where to go, how to access things, and everything like that. When I came to Savannah, I didn't see that. As I translated for Memorial Health, there were programs to assist with bills, and the Hispanic community didn't know that. So to me, you know, I felt the need to help find those resources and to translate and make sure that the people had the information. And it's the same thing with the city of Savannah. I started in the police department. There, because of the crime and everything else, we've had many victims who spoke Spanish only. And because they knew I was there, they would call me and say, Ms. Baker, can you please come and interpret? And so I've always seen the need, and I've always stepped up and volunteered to go ahead and help out with us to make sure that the Hispanic community also was served through those services.
And my last question is, when you talk about empowering the minority community, you think about visibility, and in terms of media relations, you want to see your issues represented. So how do you think going forward we can do better as media to make your issues more visible?
Well, I don't know how this can be accomplished because, again, I don't have any, you know, anything above from what I know and what I've experienced myself. And I don't know how the media works in the sense of, you know, creating channels and things of that nature. But I think moving forward, maybe a Hispanic, Spanish-speaking channel could be created, or a radio station that is you know, targeting the Spanish community to provide the news, provide the information, provide the events and all that nature. Again, in Miami, that's done. They have, I don't know how many channels they have. But in Savannah, we don't have that. And there's a need for it, I believe. So if the media could, in some way, develop and create a Spanish media outlet, news channel, programming, radio stations, I think that would be of great benefit to the citizens of Savannah.
Let me add that we also have Spanish media that exists. Some of you are involved with the media, stand up. So there's already media that exists. And I think a way to do that is help partnering with the existing Spanish media, because they're pushing stories all the time. They're pushing stories all of the time. And so I think helping to amplify, working with them, I think, you know, again, it's a force multiplier. It helps to help push their issues. And so I suggest we exchange business cards when this is all over. This is Hispanic. Heritage Month. And yet, you know, we want to see some stories as it relates to Hispanic heritage. We hope next year, this time during this month, we'll start highlighting some of our employees that are Hispanic heritage. We want to be able to recognize people for who they are and where they are. Anything else? No. Mi casa, su casa.
Gracias.
Gracias.